What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. This is my betting breakdown video for UFC 294. We got Islam Makhachev going against Alexander Volkanovski 2.
I need all the wins, yeah. Harder than all that is. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out.
And we are back for another betting breakdown video. This week we are breaking down a very good card, a 13-fight card in Abu Dhabi in UFC 294, a card that is stacked from top to bottom. I mean, we kick off the card with Shar Magomedov, Bruno Silva. We end it with a phenomenal Islam Makhachev, Alexander Volkanovski main event, and we have a lot of great fights in between. So really looking forward to this card here, really looking forward to breaking it down. It is 3 o'clock in the morning, my time. Couldn't sleep, excited about these fights, just watched the weigh-ins, and going to be getting out a extra early betting breakdown video for you guys here. Looking to keep the ball rolling, have had 4 winning weeks in a row, looking to make it 5 in a row, and then we have a week off, and then we're going to get right back into it for a Sao Paulo, Brazil card coming up in 2 weeks as well. So we have some good cards coming up, 295 coming up as well. So yeah, really looking forward to seeing how the year kind of ends here. But yeah, we're getting back into this card though. We have UFC 294. Really good card here. It's a really chalky card. It's a card where lots of favorites, lots of big favorites. I think the closest line fight is Trevor Peek minus 170, and everybody's on him this week. So yeah, looking to find some value on a chalky slate. I do have 10 bets we're going to go over, 9 of which are plus money, so I think I did a good job identifying some nice plus money spots on a very chalky card there. Before we get started, if you guys can please do me a favor, leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. If you have not already, be on the lookout for Best Bet in my Final Thoughts live stream. I'll be doing my Final Thoughts live stream at 4 o'clock Eastern Time, and then my Best Bet is going to be Friday, 7 o'clock Eastern Time, not doing it Saturday morning since the fights do start early on Saturday morning there. So be on the lookout for those live streams. And as always, going to be breaking down these fights from a betting perspective and a betting perspective only. If you want a further, more in-depth breakdown on why I'm picking who or why I'm betting what, I did post a full card breakdown and prediction video on, I think, Tuesday. And then I'll also be doing that live stream as well. If you have any questions, you can pop in and ask any questions there. But I say we get into it here. And yeah, this is a tricky card. This is a card that I really am going to pick my spots. There are a couple fights that I just completely want to avoid. And this first one is kind of one of those. We got Shar Magomedov going against Bruno Silva. We got Magomedov minus 280, Bruno Silva plus 240. I just don't like how Bruno Silva has been looking lately. I think ever since that Alex Pereira fight where he went 3 rounds with Alex Pereira, obviously clearly lost the fight, took a ton of damage, but showed a lot of toughness. And I thought his stock kind of rose in that loss. I mean, going to decision with a guy like Alex Pereira showing that toughness was really impressive. But since then, he hasn't looked that great. He had that terrible performance against Gerald Meerschaert, that terrible performance against Brendan Allen. Against Brad Tavares, he was getting touched up a little bit before he ended up knocking him out. I just really am starting to worry about the durability a little bit of Bruno Silva. And this fight's really interesting just due to the fact that Magomedov's a knockout artist and Bruno Silva, he loves losing by submission. So something kind of has to give here. I don't know. It's just a weird, tricky fight. I lean Magomedov potentially knocking out Bruno Silva being the first one to do so, but we're not getting good odds on that. I mean, minus 105 for a Magomedov knockout against the guy in Bruno Silva who's not been knocked out in how many fights? Like 32 fights. I mean, there's not a ton of meat on the bone for this one for me. I'm going to pick Magomedov to win this fight, probably by knockout, but it's not one I really want to put any money on. Next, we got Victoria Dudakova going against Jinh Yu Frey. Dudakova was one of the 2 fighters that did miss weight. She weighed in at like 116.6, so very, very slight weight miss. I will say she did not look the best. She looked completely exhausted. So not the best look there, but yeah, she is one of the biggest favorites on the card. I think she's currently like the 2nd biggest favorite or 3rd biggest favorite on a card full of massive favorites. And yeah, I'll never be one to go out there and pick Jinh Yu Frey. I think Dudakova does win this fight, and I do have a couple bets on this fight here. I have Dudakova winning the fight inside the distance, half a unit plus 150, and then I have a quarter unit sprinkle on Dudakova by submission at plus 400. I think that's a solid win condition there for Dudakova. When she's finishing fights, it's typically by submission. She has 1 win by decision that was on the Contender Series. She did get hurt in that fight, but outside of that, she's finishing her opponents. Really good finish rate there for Dudakova. And then Jinh Yu Frey's been finished 4 times, 3 by knockout, 1 by submission. Most notably, that submission loss did come against Kay Hansen in the 3rd round. I just think Dudakova is going to have some opportunities here. Get the fight down to the mat, wear on Frey, and finish her in the 2nd or 3rd round there. So fully expecting to potentially, donate some more money on some WMMA violence, but I think she's going to have plenty of opportunities to finish Frey. The weigh-ins don't concern me a ton. She didn't look great, but I think she'll be okay here against Jinh Yu Frey. Moving on, we got Nathaniel Wood going against Muhammad Naimov. We got Wood minus 300, Naimov plus 250. Yeah, not really anything sticking out here. I think it's a solid fight for Nathaniel Wood. I think he's going to be better everywhere. I think he's going to be the clear minute winner. On a card full of potential parlay pieces, I'd say I personally don't have a parlay, but Nathaniel Wood is probably one I wouldn't parlay just due to the fact that when you talk about Wood, you worry about his durability. He gets hurt a lot, dropped a lot. He's been finished a ton. Like Nathaniel Wood has been finished in 4 out of 5 losses. So I think he wins this fight. I think he's much better than Naimov, but Naimov has a puncher's chance. So I think Wood probably gets it done by decision. Nothing really sticking out here for me, though. Next, we got Anshul Jubilee going against Mike Breeden. And yeah, Mike Breeden, dog of the week. Everybody seems to be on Mike Breeden, which kind of surprised me, to be honest. People really hate Anshul Jubilee. Like, people are crapping on this guy, saying he's a bum, he's a fraud. I don't know. I think he's pretty good. I was actually impressed with Jubilee. He has not fought the best competition, but I kind of like the skill set. His striking's decent. His wrestling's decent. His grappling's decent. He's pretty decent everywhere. Mike Breeden, he did miss weight. It was a pretty big weight miss. I think he missed weight by like 3.5 pounds. He was the last one to weigh in. I don't know. I don't want anything to do with this fight. I mean, I like Jubilee here, but am I laying minus 260 on him? No, I'm not. He actually opened up minus 900, believe it or not. Money's been pouring in on Mike Breeden throughout the week. I don't know. Maybe it's a fade on Jubilee. It's a fight I'm just going to stay away from. I looked at some potential Jubilee finish props, some 2-3 props, but they're terrible prices. I think round 2's like plus 600, round 3's like plus 800, is terrible numbers. So it's going to be a pass for me. I think Jubilee goes out there and wins, though. A fight I want nothing to do with, and I wish everybody luck on their Mike Breeden bet there, because a lot of people are on him. Next, we got Cedricus Dumas going against Abu Azatar. Probably the lowest level fight on the card. It's a fight where I first looked at it and I'm like, I saw Dumas was a favorite. I just started laughing out loud because, how could this guy be a favorite against anybody in the UFC? And then you go and tape Abu Azatar and you're like, oh my gosh. So I'm in a pickle here. Like, I don't really want to pick either of these guys. Luckily, from when you're betting fights, you don't have to bet fights. You can easily pass, and that's what I'm doing here. Nothing is wrong with passing, and I don't want to put money on either of these guys. I don't think Dumas is that great at all. He's looked atrocious since coming into the UFC, like terrible. I mean, the Frem fight was a horrible performance, and even the Brundage fight, I thought Brundage went out there and lost that fight more than, Dumas went out there and won that fight. It was a weird fight, terrible fight. And now he's taken on Abu Azatar, who's fought twice in the last 7 years and has 5 minutes of cardio. It's a mess of a fight. I mean, nothing's really sticking out. I'm going to take Dumas to win this fight, but yeah, you will not see me betting on this one whatsoever. All right, next we got Javid Basharat going against Victor Henry. Big price tag here on Basharat, minus 600. Some of these prices this week are kind of ridiculous. I know a lot of people are on the plus 3.5 point spread with Victor Henry. I think that's what I would actually bet if I was to bet this fight. The thing that worries me about the point spread is the judges. I mean, the judges have been terrible lately. They're crooked, they're corrupt. And I remember a couple weeks ago, there was a point spread that I was really looking at playing. It was the Dan Ige point spread, I think, against Bryce Mitchell. I was looking at playing it, and I didn't play it because the judges scared the crap out of me. And I thought Dan Ige at least won one round against Bryce Mitchell, but no, one of the judges gave the 30-27 to Bryce Mitchell, and that point spread's done. Like, if it is a close competitive fight, like I kind of think it's going to be, somewhat competitive, a lot more competitive than the line does indicate. And you get a 29-28, 29-28, and one of those judges gives a 30-27 Basharat for no reason. I mean, that point spread's done. So I think the point spread is probably what I would go to, but I have a feeling the judges mess it up like they tend to mess up most things. So it's another pass for me. Big favorite, probably wins, minus 600. What are you going to do? All right, moving on, we got Trevor Peek going against Muhammad Yahya. And I do have 2 bets here. I have Trevor Peek to win inside the distance, 1 unit at -107. It is the only bet I am laying a minus number on. And then I also have 0.75 units on Trevor Peek to win in rounds 1 or 2. And yeah, I think it's going to be a car crash here. All Trevor Peek fights, they're car crashes. And I think the thing that separates Trevor Peek in this fight is he has durability, he has heart, he has toughness. I mean, Trevor Peek is as tough as they come. We know that. And on the flip side, you got Muhammad Yahya, who has been finished in all 3 of his losses. 2 by submission, 1 by knockout. I saw the 1 submission loss. It was a club and sub. This guy, Yahya, gets hurt a lot. He gets dropped a lot. He gets hit a lot. And Trevor Peek has a ton of power. He's going to throw with reckless abandon. And he's dangerous. He's very dangerous. So I think if Trevor Peek does win this fight, it's got to be inside the distance. Trevor Peek is not a minute winner. He's a moment winner. And I think Trevor Peek inside the distance does make a lot of sense. He does have a 100% finish rate in his wins. And Yahya has a 100% finish rate in his losses. And I think it comes early as well. So I'm on that round 1, round 2 for Peek, plus 125. Then I'm also on that inside the distance at -107. Again, the only prop this week I am laying a minus number on. Moving on, we got Muhammad Mokaev going against Tim Elliott. Yeah, another wide line here. I do like Mokaev, though. But I think it's going to be one of those fights where it's like very competitive up until it's not. You know what I mean? Like I feel like Tim Elliott's going to go out there, make it a very, very competitive fight. I just feel like at some point Muhammad Mokaev is going to get this fight down to the mat. At some point Tim Elliott's going to make a mistake. He's going to get submitted. Tim Elliott gets submitted a lot. He's been submitted 4 times in the UFC, 5 times as a whole. And I think for Tim Elliott to win this fight, he's going to have to fight a perfect 15-minute fight. Mokaev's dangerous. I know he's going out there. He's having a lot more competitive fights than he really should be. Like the Malcolm Gordon fight, he should have ran through Malcolm Gordon, a lot more competitive than it needed to be. The Filio fight, a lot more competitive than it really needed to be. But he's going out there and subbing those guys. I mean, Malcolm Gordon's a black belt. Filio's a black belt. I mean, an impressive submission wins there. And again, Tim Elliott just makes mistakes on the mat. Tim Elliott, 36 years old. Tim Elliott's been subbed 5 times. I don't think Tim Elliott has the best cardio in the world. And I think at some point in this fight, Muhammad's going to snatch up a neck. He's going to snatch up an arm. And he's going to get the finish there. So I like Mokaev. By submission, I have a half unit on it at +1 or +230. At +230, half unit. Muhammad Mokaev by submission. That is currently +210. So didn't move a ton. I like it. I think that's a solid win condition there for Muhammad Mokaev. Moving on, we got Said Nurmagomedov going against Moin Gafarov. We got Nurmagomedov -210, Gafarov +180. Nothing really sticking out here. I thought I'd be sneaky this week with a Nurmagomedov finish prop or like a violence prop in general, just because you look at these guys and neither of them has been finished ever. Moin Gafarov, 5 losses, all come by decision. Nurmagomedov's never been finished in his career either. So yeah, neither of these guys have ever been finished. But we're getting a fight doesn't go to decision at -130. We're getting Nurmagomedov inside the distance at +120. I mean, I need a much better price than that because he's going against a guy in Gafarov who's shown a lot of toughness. He's shown that he's very, very hard to get out of there. So I think the bookies are all over it. At this point, I'd probably play the over just because I think they're really overpricing the violence props here on 2 guys that are, typically very durable. But I do think there's a sneaky chance it finishes. I think it's Nurmagomedov inside the distance, but -120 is terrible, to be honest. I mean, for a guy and going against Gafarov who's super. I mean, I'm not playing that. So it's a big pass spot for me. But I think Nurmagomedov potentially gets him out of there, but I'm not playing it at that price. Next, we got Ikram Alaskarov going against Warley Alves. So yeah, this is a very interesting fight. So the under 1.5 is juiced to like -165, which I find very interesting because you think of Warley Alves and he's like this round 1 monster, right? Or at least that's what I thought. But I went back and looked through his record. Warley Alves only has like 2 wins in the first round in his entire career, in the UFC, that is. Outside the UFC is a different story, but inside the UFC, Warley Alves only has 2 first-round wins. Warley Alves has only had 2 fights finish in the first round in the UFC. The rest are reaching that second round. I think he has maybe 14 fights in the UFC. 12 of them have gone to the second round. So I think these Ikram second and third round props are very, very interesting this week. Warley Alves has been finished 3 times in the UFC. All 3 of those come in the second round. I know Randy Brown submitted him. I know James Krause knocked him out, and there was also another finish. Can't remember off the top of my head, but all those have come in round 2. So what I did, I put a half-unit shot on Ikram Alaskarov to win in round 2, plus 450, and then a quarter-unit shot on Ikram Alaskarov to win in round 3, plus 1100. I think if the fight does end in the first round, maybe it's Warlley Alves getting it done, but I don't know. I don't like Alves' chances. He's taking this fight on short notice. Saw him at the weigh-ins. He didn't look like he was in the best shape. So yeah, it should be Ikram Alaskarov, but I'm hoping he can take this to the second round. I'm hoping Alves can survive at least the first 5 minutes there. And if he does, the second and third round props can be very, very live with a guy in Alves who slows down in general, but especially on short notice here. Next, we got Magomed Ankalaev going against Johnny Walker. This is actually the fight I'm least looking forward to, and it's because it's a Magomed Ankalaev fight, and 99% of Magomed Ankalaev fights are just terrible to watch. I mean, they're so boring. I mean, this guy's so boring. He's a really good fighter, don't get me wrong. He's very skilled, but he's just so boring. He doesn't do anything. But yeah, I think he should win this fight. I think he has multiple paths. I think he should wrestle. If he wrestles, he makes it look easy, but nothing's really sticking out. The totals are very interesting because I could see this fight finishing easily, but I could also see nobody doing anything. It's just a fight I want to stay far, far away from. Could be a fun fight just because of Johnny Walker, but even Johnny Walker's been fighting like differently lately. Johnny Walker's been fighting like more reserved, and if Johnny Walker goes in there reserved, I mean, Ankalaev's going to oblige. I mean, this fight could be awful, so I'm not touching anything. Ankalaev should win, but minus 350. I mean, I'm never laying minus 350 on Ankalaev, to be honest. He just doesn't do anything, but he's really good. He just doesn't do anything. Moving on to the co-main event, we got Khamzat Chimaev going against Kamaru Usman. I do have 2 bets here. I have a Khamzat Chimaev winning inside the distance, 1 unit, plus 100 is my first bet of the week. And I also have 0.75 units on Khamzat Chimaev to win in round 1 or round 2, plus 125. So when I saw these violence numbers, I was kind of confused. Khamzat Chimaev, has been to decision once. Khamzat Chimaev's been to the third round once. Khamzat Chimaev's only been over 1.5 rounds just once in his career, and it was against Gilbert Burns, right? Other than that, he is going out there and finishing these guys, very early. I think if Khamzat does win this fight, I do think it's a finish within those first 2 rounds. My prediction officially was a first-round finish for Khamzat Chimaev, and people thought I was crazy for thinking that. So I guess maybe it's a hot take this week, but yeah, I mean, Kamaru Usman, I've been a big Usman fan. I've been a big Usman backer for a while now. I've always, backed this guy, have had nothing but good things to say about this guy, but these are terrible circumstances for Kamaru Usman here. He's taken the fight on 11 days notice, long flight over to Abu Dhabi. He's now 36 years old. He's focusing on things outside the UFC. I think he's an actor now. I think he's doing some modeling, believe it or not, as well. He's been battling a lot of injuries later in his career. There is that whole open workout situation. Did it pop? Did it not? I'm not sure. But, yeah, I don't like Usman's chances. Hey, if it was a full camp, 5-round fight, different circumstances, right? If it was a full camp, Kamaru Usman, if this fight was a couple years ago, yeah, Usman, I would probably back him, especially at plus 270. You got to back him there. But the fact of the matter is he is now 36. I think he is declining. And I think Chimaev goes out here and makes quick work of him. I really do. So, yeah, give me Chimaev to win this fight. I think Chimaev finishes him within the first 2 rounds there. All right, next we got Islam Makhachev, Alexander Volkanovski main event. We got Islam minus 250, Volkanovski plus 210. Nothing really sticking out here in this fight for me. I do have a bet on it, though. I have a half-unit shot on the fight to end by knockout at plus 240. And the reason being is Volk is taking this fight on short notice. I went back and watched their first fight, and both guys hurt each other a lot. Islam hurt Volk, I think, in both the first and second round. Like, Islam has power, and Volk's chin has always been a little bit iffy. We saw Max Holloway hurt Volkanovski a couple times, I think, in the second fight. And then, yeah, like I said, we saw Islam hurt Volkanovski a couple times, and as we know, Volkanovski has never been subbed. His submission defense is on point, most notably that Brian Ortega fight. But even in the Islam fight, Volk's submission defense was on point. Islam didn't get anywhere close to subbing him, so I feel like both guys are live for a knockout here. If Volk pulls off the upset, it's absolutely going to be knockout. Obviously, Islam could win by decision. Islam could potentially sub him, but I kind of do more so lean towards knockout. So, getting the fight to end by knockout at plus 240 when the fight doesn't go as minus 140, I don't think that's the worst look in the world. So that's how I'm attacking it. Other than that, not much sticking out. I'm kind of tempted to lay minus 250 on Islam, to be honest. But, I mean, it's hard to lay a price tag like that against a guy like Volkanovski. I really like Islam's chances here, but I don't want to completely rule out Alexander Volkanovski. But just like Usman, like Volkanovski does have a lot going against him. He just had surgery. He's coming in here off a long flight. He's coming in here on like 11 days note. I mean, he has a lot of things going against him, but I think Islam wins here and potentially by knockout. So those are the bets. Peak inside the distance, 1 unit minus 107. Peak to win in round 1 or 2, 0.75 units plus 125. Chimaev inside the distance, plus 100, 1 unit. Chimaev to win in round 1 or 2, 0.75 units plus 125. Ikram Aliskerov to win in round 2, plus 450, half a unit. Aliskerov round 3, plus 1100, quarter unit. Makayev submission, plus 230, half a unit. Makhachev Volkanovski fight ends by knockout, plus 240, half a unit. Dudikova inside the distance, half a unit, plus 150. Dudikova by submission, plus 400, quarter unit. Those are the bets. 10 bets, 9 of them plus money. Let's see if we can make it 5 winning weeks in a row. Not my favorite card in the world. I've been trying to stay away from the chalk this year. I've been trying to find some more plus money spots, and that's kind of difficult on cards like this. Good luck with all your parlays. I'm not doing many parlays myself personally, but I'm sure this is going to be a very parlay heavy card, and we'll see who kind of craps the bet. I mean, one of these guys are probably going to crap the bet, so we'll see who it is. So good luck on your parlays. Good luck on your bets. Enjoy the fights. Tune into Best Bet. Tune into the Final Thoughts video. Those will both be on Friday. And best of luck for UFC 294. See you guys later.